Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam
Waalaikumsalam
warahmatullahi
warahmatullahi
wabarakatuh.
wabarakatuh.
Good night, students.
Good
Good
night,
night.
Miss.
How are you?
I'm good. How are
I'm
you?
I'm good.
I'm fine. Thank you for asking me. We have late night class for today, and I'm sorry for bother your time. So, I'm gonna share the screen for our materials. Wait, can you see my screen?
Yes.
Yes, Miss.
So, we're gonna talk about the definition of literature, and the second is what the distinctive about the language of literature, and number three is the reader and the text. The fourth is the literary competence and the language classroom, and the fifth is why use literature in the language classroom. So please pay attention because I'm going to ask uh, from one of you guys to read the materials. So the first one is the definition of the literature. Literature is a body of written works. The name has traditionally been applied to those imaginative works of poetry and prose distinguished by the intention of their authors and the perceived aesthetic excellence of their executions. According to Nurgiantoro, says that the literature is the word that was created, built, offered, and realized through words of our language. And the number three is the oral or written literature expresses people's thoughts, feelings, views, and culture. And the fourth is the literary text can be studied in original forms or simplified or abridged versions. An increasing number of stories in English are written specifically for learners of the language. So, there are some of the types of the literary text that can be studied inside and outside the ELT classroom. Like the first is there are short stories, there are poems, and the third one is the novels, and the fourth one is plays, and the fifth one is the song lyrics. And what is the distinctive about the language of literature? The first one is one of the views of literature suggested the previous section is that literature involves a special or unusual use of language. Literary language is the form of the language used in written literature, which can be either non-standard dialects or standardized variety of the language. The second one is the language is a method of communication, while the literature is the contents of being the communicated. Language has been described as a set of gestures and words expressed with meaning behind them, while the literature is the manipulations and use of the those gestures and words and phrases for creative purposes. In literature, language is carefully crafted. This is according to Benjamin in 2010. So the language of the literature, there is the examples like she's been working on the project all week, but she's starting to run out of the steam. She doesn't feel that her mind is operating anymore, so people can only use language to construct poems, stories, plays, films, etc. In other words, literature involves the manipulation of language for creative purposes. From example, from the example is an invented utterance, but it could easily be imagined as part of dialogue in a play, novel, or the short stories. Like perhaps it is difficult deciding which texts are literary because one of the hallmarks of literature is that fits creatively on every possible style and register. It has become the form of discourse in which any use of the language is permissible. Like at the same times, Many linguists have pointed out that there are a number of features of literary language which can be isolated. Many of these features occur in the form of discourse as well, but in many literary texts, they combine to form highly unified and consistent effects, like which strongly reinforce the message of the text. Okay, for the reader and the text, I really want one of you guys to read the text, to read the materials. Salsabilla Kartika, can you help me to read the text?
Yes, Miss.
Okay, thank you.
The reader and the text. First, teachers can exploit literary text in the large number of ways in the classroom. Classroom work with literary work may involve pre-recording tasks, interactive work on the text, and follow-up activities. The second, Pulver's 2003 provides some useful advice. Maximize pre-recording support. The third, teachers can introduce the topic or them of the text. Pre-teach essential vocabulary item and use prediction tasks to arouse the interest and curiosity of students. Fourth, minimize the extent to which the teacher disrupts students' reading. And the last, draw attention to stylistic peculiarity.
Okay, thank you, Salsabilla Kartika. Very
Yes,
good job.
ma'am.
Hey, you have to read this one too.
Oh, the next helps students to appreciate the way that writers use language to achieve particular effect. The seven provide framework for creative response, and the last invite learner to step into the shoes of the writer or invite them to modify, extend, or add to a text.
Okay, thank you, Salsabilla Kartika. Good job. Very good job.
Yes,
So, for these materials, Juna, can you help me to read the text?
Okay, Miss.
Okay.
So the literary competence and the language classroom. Number one is literary competence was introduced to by Jonathan Culler, 1975. That refers to a person's implicit, internalized knowledge or the rules or of literature. He also suggests that knowledge of a language and a certain experience of the world do you know suffice to make someone a perfect and competent reader. Number two is literary competence includes a numbers of skills and sub skills which the teacher should identify in order to plan this lesson and to offer his students clear procedures and techniques for dealing with literary text. The effective reader should master curtain skills and strategies which allow him to convert the words on the page of a literary works into literary meanings.
Okay, thank you, Juna. Very good job. So I'm going to continue the materials by my own. So the next materials is the literary competence. The first one is the ability to recognize and decode. They are the figures of speech such as metaphor, simile, personifications, hyperbole, epithet, apostrophe, oxymoron, and metonymy. And also they are narrative and poetic devices such as plot, story, characters, point of view, setting, irony, satire, paradox, assonance, alliterations, rhyme, and rhythm. And there are specific text features such as theme and style, and literary trends such as classicism, romanticism, realism, and modernism. And also there are literary forms such as the diary, the epigram, the heroic poems, the mock heroic poems, the ode, the sonnets. And there are literary genres such as novel, play, short story, poems, and sketch. And the second one is the ability to use the literary notions in order to interpret the text. The third one is the ability to produce a personal response to the text. The fifth one is the literature. Why use literature in the classroom? So Diana, are you there? Hello, Diana.
Yes, Miss.
Okay. Can you please read this for me?
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Why use literature in the language classroom? Expanding students' language awareness using literature with students can help them to become more sensitive to some of the overall features of English. Second, developing students' interpretative abilities. Literature is an excellent resource for develop students' ability to infer meaning and make interpretations. This is because literary texts are often rich in various things level of meaning and demands that readers or students be actively involved in revealing implication and under unstated text assumption. And third, educating the whole person. Lit- Literature has a wider educational function in the classroom as it can help stimulate the, the imagination of our students, develop their critical abilities, and increase their emotional awareness.
Okay, good job, Diana. Thank you so much.
Yes,
So,
Miss.
okay, I'm going to continue this. This is the reason of using literature in the classroom. Literary text provides the opportunities for multisensorial classroom experiences and can appeal to learners with different learning styles. Like text can be supplemented by audios, music CDs, film clips, podcasts, all of which enhance even further the richness of the sensory input the student receive. The second one is the literary text offer a rich source of linguistic input can help learners to practice the four skill. The four skills is like speaking, listening, reading, and writing, and in addition to exemplifying grammatical structures and the presenting the new vocabularies. And the third one is the literature can help learners to develop their understanding of other cultures, awareness like the difference of and to develop the tolerance and understanding. At the same time, literary texts can deal with the universal themes such as love, war, and loss, and that are not always covered in the sanitized word of course books. The fourth one is the literary texts are representational rather than referential. Referential language communicates at only one level and tends to be informational. The representational language of literary text involves the learner and the engage of the emotions, as well as their cognitive faculties. Literary works help learners to use their imagination, enhance their empathy for others, and lead them to develop their own creativity. They also give students the chance to learn about the literary device that occur in the other genre. And the fifth one is the literature lesson can lead to public displays of students' output through the posters of the students' creations. Like the example is poem, poems, stories, or through the performance of plays. So, for variety of linguistics, culture, and personal growth reasons, literary texts can be more motivating than the referential ones of often they use in the classroom. Thanks. Do you have any questions?
I think no, ma'am.
Okay. So I really want to call you one by one. The first one, Septiana, Adela, Sari, are you there?
Yes, ma'am. I'm
Okay, I
here.
can hear you. Okay. So I think that's all from me. Thank you so much for your attentions and for this night. I'm sorry for bother you this late
No,
for the
ma'am.
class. I hope
So,
you
It's,
are
it's
okay.
okay.
It's okay, miss.
Okay. So I think that's all. Thank you so much and happy Eid Mubarak you all.
Happy
Happy Eid Mubarak, Miss Feby.
Okay. Bye bye. Goodbye.
Thank you,
Bye.
Miss.
Thank
Bye.
you.
Thank you.